meat and curry, I'm your man. Cause how we all lose it is a mystery. It's like the changing of our wardrobes from a dire history. But it's the one making us not stop. 50 kilograms is all we've got to drop. La 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 la, la 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 la.
Hello, Mike.
Hey, what's happening, Ian? How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's beautiful weather here, and we're just walking through it.
Is that better, sound-wise?
It sounds good.
Yeah. It's beautiful weather here. It's 20 degrees, our 20 degrees, not the American one, Celsius, not Fahrenheit. It's warm. You can wear a t-shirt. And
Nice.
I had sunglasses on today. And this week's been, it starts at 1 degrees, which is near on freezing, and then gets up to 14 degrees by about 2 in the afternoon. Today, it's actually stayed at like 20 and it's boiling hot outside. So we can finally share a bit of weather news together and go, yeah, it's actually quite warm over here today.
Yeah, I always forget that it's a little chilly over there too.
Yeah, and wet. Usually it's very wet.
Where's your compadre?
Taylor is on a phone, but he's going to come soon. He says, if he can get off the call. If not, then lost him. But yeah, we've finished 90 days, Mike. So the point of this episode was to talk through that, really.
Yeah, I mean, I think we might need to get Taylor on it if he doesn't show up early enough, but maybe do a quick one next week or something. But yeah, I mean, we talked about before that I want to be involved in kind of a monthly check-in, mostly for things that come up, basically, and obviously to finish your weight loss goals, although a lot of, our work that's not the point of it. It's just a byproduct. And the interesting thing for this process that you've gone through is men lose weight faster. It's proven. You've seen it on The Biggest Loser and all those shows, and you've dropped a lot of weight. But I would like to see you. It's not really finishing it. I think what it is finding your normal, or whatever your, the politically correct term these days is the right size body for you. With your athletics and boxing and everything you do, and to try and find out where peak is, where you feel peak performance, and where you feel like you might be getting too skinny or whatever, too thin or changing weight classes, whatever, you know what I mean? And we get there. And like I said, things that might drive you back. And we had talked about alcohol and your attempt to bring it back in a little bit and see how it affects your cravings for sugar and like that. So that's kind of what
yeah. So it's been about a week since the end of the 90 days.
Yeah.
In my head, I thought if I can get down to 136, that'll be where I usually start my boxing camps and where I last fought for 136. And I think I've had the last week I've been really down because I've been not goalless, but readjusting the goals maybe. And I started the 50 kg drop to get to 118 kilograms. That was the goal. And when you've lost 27 in this 6 weeks, and I'm 32 down since the start, I think I'm nearly there. Or 35 down. So I only got 15 kilograms to go, really. And while this is working, I haven't plateaued or fattoed out. It's coming off every single week. I've readjusted that brain that's go out and party and do this sort of stuff to, no, let's see what the next 15, 16, 17 kilograms looks like.
Yeah.
And
I would hope you would do that.
Yeah. Usually I'd be self-destructing right now and I'd be celebrating and partying. But I didn't go out. I doubled down on exercise. And my plan is to get in a routine where I'm fit enough to go to the gym daily and start working on building muscle, start doing that sort of stuff. I went and lifted some weights for the first time in ages, which is difficult with the injuries. And then get to my desired weight and then work out what diet, what lifestyle, what that sort of stuff I want to get to at that point. I was miserable for a week working this out. And it was like you've reached a goal, but you're not rewarding your goal. So why are you doing it? And then, yeah, 136 is a good way. Maybe you're falling into the same trap of never being content or with how you look and do whatever. And truth be told, I'm looking good, but I still look at myself in the mirror going, you're still a fat guy. You're still looking at you. And visually, I probably am.
The conversion is 2.2, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking 300 pounds, even though you're 6'4", by body. Anyway, it's still 300 pounds, 2.2. Yeah. So as I told you before, you may be shortchanging yourself, At the 250 to 260, which is the 118 that you're headed for, sounds realistic, but you're still going to be a big guy, even at 250, which is 118.
So I went on a machine and they reckon that I'm 105 kilograms if you took all of the fat off me. So that was just muscle bone.
Okay.
There's a big guy underneath this all from a structural point of view. 118 would leave me in the low percent body fat, right? That would be what, 8%, 10%, something like that.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. But that was the name of the podcast, 50 kg drop, right? So I've got to hit the 50 kg drop.
Yeah. Have you ever in the 3 years you've been doing it, 2 years you've been doing it?
No, nowhere near. Lose 10 kilograms, put it all back on, probably put more on.
Yeah.
And do you know what? I looked through my weight. I've got my Fitness Pal. I haven't been this light since 2018.
Okay.
Which was the last time I boxed. And interestingly, the lowest I ever was 122, which was the second fight when I boxed. But COVID, as soon as COVID happened, I gained near on 25, 30 kilograms.
Right.
And I've been battling that ever since, trying to get that off. And it is just, the line's ridiculous. It's just like, so I've always been in, and this is probably why I was close to giving up at the end of last year, because I've been what it feels like a constant diet since 2018.
Yeah.
um,
I don't want to leave this episode for the folks that are watching without making a recap of the feelings and the mental shifts that you've made and the emotional shifts that you've made, both towards food and, what goes on in your life, the days that you had the frustrations and the angers and that kind of stuff. Can you give a recap of that? Because I want to stress this for folks that, this beginning of the conversation is important to people, but only as a lead in to the work we actually did, in case they happen to catch this one, but haven't caught the others, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So the first, let's do it in 3 months, right? The first month, it was this like crazy depression is the way to put it. I had, in December, I drank every day and ate pretty much anything I wanted every day. And if we're talking about sugar, I was eating chocolate bars every day. And I gained 8 kilograms in December. In January, I didn't eat anything. And coming off that was the same feeling I had when I gave up cigarettes. I was erratic, irrational, that sort of stuff throughout all of it. And I even had this, I remember the first week I had this like brain fog where I was getting the wrong train home. I didn't really know what I was doing. I couldn't concentrate. And with that then developed into a bit of like rage. My patience went out the window. And that was all leading for the first month. I was like very
Mhm.
short with people, a bit kind of like just not very nice. And whilst I was feeling fine, I think my brain was trying to work out what was going on. And you feel a bit kind of like a transition shift where you're, especially from the December I had, it was like a big shock that
Mm.
I was going into that. And that carried on for the first like 4 weeks. I also had physically, there was some weird symptoms around like strange bowel movements, that sort of stuff at that point. Uh,
Oh,
and then second month, it was more losing my purpose is probably the
I like that. It's a good phrase.
yeah, I was kind of, the battle was, why am I doing this?
Mhm.
And then your brain goes into, well, you've done loads of diets before. You weren't exactly happy when you were younger, like forget about it, what you're doing. And then you go through the doubting of, like, as soon as anything medically goes wrong with you, you're like, it's got to be because of the diet. And all of that pressure is and everyone also looks at you like, what do you mean you haven't eaten vegetables in 4 weeks? That's ridiculous. And you've got all this like crazy peer pressure that you're battling
Yeah.
off. But you start feeling a lot better in at that point. You start seeing things clearly. What I found was that my kind of natural stress levels were a lot lower. I
Yeah.
was, my life's pretty hectic, and that freed up. My day job didn't change. What I do outside of work didn't change, but it freed so much headspace for me to be able to handle that stuff.
Right.
That's the bit that I think has been really good. And then the third month was, while you've got this headspace, let's actually do something with that headspace. Uh,
Okay.
and I've been working out what I want to do career wise, what I want to do health wise, what I want to do with all this sort of stuff, which has been even down to like relationships, family relationships, this sort of stuff. And to give you some context throughout all of this, I've had a crazy amount of stuff going on outside of work. My granddad's in a dementia home. Uh, there's loads of family problems. I've got my
Mm.
dad's not particularly well at the minute. We don't really know what's up with him. My missus, his nan, passed away, unfortunately, and her granddad's just passed away. And there's been loads of stuff, as well as my missus giving donating her kidney to her dad, this sort of stuff. There's been loads of stuff outside of work,
Oh,
which in December, I was drinking through all of that because it was a year where I just couldn't handle them thoughts anymore. Now I'm at a point where I can be supportive to people, think clearly, not escape anything, and do that sort of thing. So it's two worlds apart. And on top of that, I have a very high stress job. I took a bit of a gamble to move out of a job that I was doing before to do another job internally, which means that I have to kind of build a division from the ground up. And that has its own stress, is that kind of startup stress and this sort of stuff, which,
mhm.
truth be told, in December, I don't think I would have been in a headspace to be able to do that. Whereas now it's like clockwork, I'm seeing it clearly, and it's going really well. So back to your original point about that kind of emotion, mental thoughts and feelings and this sort of thing. I think this has been a really good way to get me back to probably a state I haven't been in since I was a child, maybe, of thinking completely clearly. Yeah, now it's like, what version of me do I want to be next is where I'm currently thinking. And since we stopped the 90 days, I've been in a whirlwind of downness, miserable, and I couldn't put my finger on it because it felt as if that chapter was over and that chapter was working really well, is the way I see it. And
Mm.
uh, I've come to the conclusion that the chapter doesn't need to stop. The chapter's just the beginning. And now I need to carry on doing what I need to do to get to the goals that I want to get to. So,
Yeah.
uh, and eating meat is cool. It's not that bad.
So that was a great recap. I mean, amazing recap. Now, one of the things I want to warn you in this next transition, as we, only meet up once a month or whatever, is that a lot of times, and not necessarily, you can decide this later, but I'll use the terms loosely. Addicts and people who, put on 100 extra pounds kind of thing, or, you've been honest about your other stuff, addictions and whatever. We're actually talking about trying to help some folks out, maybe, and putting some of your story out. But like, we, I can use it, I qualify, we tend to sabotage. The phrase I always use is I need to be watched when things are going well. It's not, getting myself out of jackpots and problems and issues, never been a problem. It's like I stay in them. And I think that's because of whether there's lower self-esteem, these are things you'll be figuring out later. Is to keep an eye on whatever the addictions that raise their head that day are when things are really going well. You have to kind of go slowly into whether it's entrepreneurship or, relationship changes, whatever it is, just kind of go slower into it and be more aware, because you won't have the stress and double down on your new stress relief stuff, your exercise and walking and whatever. So yeah, just a thing to be aware of. Cousin to the pink cloud that we talked about in the other sessions, that sober people or people that have put addictions of any kind behind them struggle with. So just a little word of warning, and I'm not predicting it or anything. I'm just a little word of warning. So keep an eye out for all that.
It probably makes sense because my brain's racing away with 25,000 companies that I want to start. And
yeah, exactly. I still do it 40 years later.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And the bit that I'm more worried about is what happens when I reach the actual goal.
There is no actual goal. So, the name Simon Sinek, I don't think he invented, but he has popularized the difference between an infinite game and a finite game, right? And life is an infinite game. Business is an infinite game. A finite game is basketball or soccer or whatever, because it has very defined boundaries and rules that you can win at, and it ends at a certain time. Infinite games, excuse me, they don't end. And it's more confusing because you have choices constantly, and you have to kind of have your own internal guidance system to manage that. And with this AI stuff, which is blowing my mind and the minds of others, and you're kind of in that technology field at some level, I mean, the only thing we can count on is change. So you've got to, get a stronger bearing in the middle. So yeah, don't worry about the game ending or the goal being achieved, because by the time you get to the goal, you'll already have new ones.
Yeah. So you see it more like a continuous improvement.
Yes, exactly. What was the goal? The weight goal, the business goal?
Weight goal.
Okay.
Yeah, the weight goal.
Yeah.
Once I get down to that point, and yeah, you're probably right, because I'll probably look at myself and think, what can I do next to improve it?
Well, you'll try and get your muscle tone up and your cardio, your VO2 max up, and that kind of stuff. There'll be other parts of your health. It's late for you, but my Tuesday, Wednesday meetings are people with between 2 or 3 months and 3 and 4 years. And that's exactly all the meeting's about, is about new things they're trying health-wise and like that, foods or exercises or tests they're taking, things that they're trying to perfect. So yeah, you can't even correct me on this. You are that person who will be continuously improving, which is a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, or destructing.
Well, they are related, and for the addict, for the person who has had the issues, they are related. I mean, they're kissing cousins, they might be brother and sister, I'd say. I don't even think that's an option, or I don't think that's, that just is. What you're trying to do in this whole thing is, instead of this, you're a high achieving person and you can do pretty much what you set your mind to. But the goal is, you get up there and you've done it and then you crash down and you told the story about Christmas and And then, you do it again. And you go, I used to have a therapist 25 years ago told me, Mike, you know, it's great, makes great reading, Horatio Alger, ups and downs, comebacks, all that. The goal is to level it out and just have, a smooth life. Addicts aren't used to a smooth life. We have to feel like we have to inject chaos where there is none. And so sometimes you got to go a little slower. Sometimes you got to go faster, but sometimes you got to go a little slower and be more at peace with everything.
I do think that's a big part of this, though, is trying to find contentment in being content. I'm not very good at that. I want to dive into something,
I know.
channel it in a different way.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I found that probably the hardest bit is trying to work out. And I also think there's loads of stuff that you haven't thought of for donkey's years that you've just been hiding underneath it all and cracking on your daily routine, or maybe drinking through these problems and this sort of stuff, and not, or eating through the problems and not actually facing the problems that you've got. Like, I keep getting this anxiety feeling in certain situations.
Okay.
When I play sport like darts, I found it pretty bad, but in that competition state, I get this horrible like chest closing up feeling,
Hmm.
which is weird because I'm actually doing all right. I'm playing well. Also, I get it in loud public places, pubs, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
As soon as I step outside, I'm all right, but when I'm inside, it's like too much going on.
Yeah, I would take that, excuse me, Myers-Briggs and find out what I'm pretty sure you may be arcing towards you're more
I did
introvert.
take something, yeah. One of the ladies off the community.
Anyway, it's a great revelation, and what you're describing has different manifestations, but you're 100% right as far as listening to what we've been doing over the last few months, is that after you let go of this stuff, you have to deal with this stuff in other ways, other self-soothing ways. And, because you can't go back to your old lovers, which were alcohol or sugar, And so, yeah, you have to be aware of what you're describing, and then try and handle it in other ways, soothe yourself in other ways, like stepping outside is a good way to do it, what you've found.
Yeah, it was Luang, her name is. But anyway, I did the test and it came out as me in the middle.
Okay.
Nikki may pass me through the thing. Nikki Luang. Yeah, so I did it. It said that I was a campaigner.
Oh, I don't know that. I know I've heard that process. I don't know. I'm not familiar with it though. But yeah, maybe send me those results. I'd be interested. But yeah, I mean, regardless, I mean, I don't want to seem like, but it's true. You're discovering a long buried persona that is going to look different in your mid-30s than it did when you were a child, when you first started using these products and using them to. The unconscious use of this product is the problem in society. They don't realize that it has this effect to numb you or calm you or self-soothe you. And they don't, because it's very available, they just do it. I feel like a soda, I feel like a candy bar, whatever, or a drink. And then when they don't have that stuff, the stuff that they were gonna feel is there still. And they have to figure out new ways to work and walk through it. So you'll get there.
Yeah,
Be aware that that's what's happening. And
yeah.
your descriptions have been good. I'd like to know more about not the anxiety in the pubs, but the more anxiousness in general. It's, I hear it a lot called, it's basically free floating anxiety. It's not attached to anything. It's not attached to being somewhere. It's not attached to doing something. It just is. And a lot of people will go get some drugs or what have you. So just stop it. So shut it down. Don't do that, please.
Yeah. Yeah, there's been times where I thought, have a few drinks and you'll be fine. Like,
Yeah.
maybe that's maybe it. But I never really drank because of that. I drank because it was more like wanting to socialize than drinking at home. Do you know, I never was in that camp with drink.
Yeah, but that's the original thought. Genuinely, that's the original thought. After you don't have it, you start to realize that the unconscious level, unconscious understanding might be different.
Yeah.
Because I could say the same thing, but I just was out to party and whatever. And that's not the case. It wasn't the case. Come to find out.
Yeah. Fair enough. Well, look, Mike, thank you very much for your 90 days. It's been a hell of a journey for me.
Yeah.
Let's definitely carry it on. It'll be good to catch up in a month's time and work out. And I'll get Taylor to book a call in and we could do Taylor's finish.
Sure, that's a good idea. Let's him and I do one.
Yeah. Yeah. And for anyone that wants to give this a go themselves, how do they do that?
They go to sugardetox.com would probably be the easiest way, and download the free book. That can start them, and then we'll get them over to the challenge itself. I sent you my WhatsApp number on my last email. If there's an issue and you find yourself drinking a weekend or something, don't be afraid to call me up or text me or whatever. Schedule a meeting, okay?
Yeah, sure. I'll definitely do that. You definitely don't want me to have your number when I do start drinking because
Although, and the thing is, I can't help you after you start. So if you catch it and you just feel compelled, then call me before you go, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good man.
All
I'll
right.
do that. And thanks very much again. See you soon.
All right. Thank you. I've enjoyed it.
Take
Bye
care.
now.
Bye-bye.
We've got some diet plans, health scans, sugar bans, fitness fans, PTs, injuries, laying off the Chinese, ball games, gym chains, protein gains and skin tight tops, and we ain't gonna stop until we hit the 50k. Drop, 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 drop. No excess fat, no FAT, no curry back, no guarantee. Rough or buff, lean on me. We'll end up as fit as a bear.